Okay, good afternoon. So Mrs. Hughes, who's been on for a little while, I thought it was going to be a personalized session, just me and you, but we have two other people that have joined us now. So welcome Amanda and Tammy. We didn't have a large number signed up for today, but decided to go ahead and keep this session. But if it is going to be a small group like this, I really want you all to interact with me as much as possible, and I'll just kind of customize this and address any needs or concerns you have. So this is going to be like a power session for the three of you, and we could still have some other people join on, and it could be that others are just going to watch the recording. So welcome to the three of you so far. This is TCI 101, getting started with your middle school science account. Okay, Kim, perfect. So I would love for each of you to start by letting me know where you are joining me from and what exactly you teach. And instead of just saying the grade level, if you would say specifically what type of science you're teaching, and also anything else that would be helpful, since I am going to really personalize this for such a small group. So for example, if you are brand new to this, you're going to be using it for the first time this coming school year, let me know that. Or if you are an existing user and you're here just because you have some questions or want a refresher, I would love to know that as well. So let me give the three of you a moment to share some of that in chat with me. And hopefully you're seeing your chat on the Zoom tools. The Q&A is also active, I think. I asked if they could disable it, but I think it is still there. So since it's just a small group, let's just use chat if the three of you don't mind. So let me know in chat if you would, making sure that you put, when you click to type your message, select everyone. So all of us on the call here can see what it is. So great. All right, Tammy, special education teacher, first time TCI user. We're using it to be teaching sixth grade in Massachusetts. So Tammy, now you have to tell me which district you are in, because I work in Massachusetts. I also have family in Massachusetts. I know I don't sound like it. I don't have an accent, no matter what you're thinking. But I have a lot of family in and around Boston. And I've worked personally with Westford, which uses us for middle school science, but they're not obviously the only district. Amanda teaching sixth grade science for the first time. Oh, Tammy, thank you. Okay, nice. So I have not worked there, but thank you so much for joining us. Amanda, you are in Wisconsin. I work a lot, and I work a lot of places, but I also work in Wisconsin. So I would love to know what district you are in, or what city you are in Wisconsin. And then Mrs. Hughes, Castro Valley, California, teaching seventh grade life science, eighth grade science, physical science. Your seventh or eighth grade or seventh or eighth year using TCI for science. So she's now going to lead the webinar. We're going to let her take over the webinar. So you're on another level, right? So I will say that a difference, and you correct me if I'm wrong, for my Castro Valley friend, I believe you are likely using the integrated science program. Am I correct? Whereas the other two people, oh, and we just had Julia join us. Julia, if you're hearing me already, actually, oh, we're a small group. I'm going to allow you all to talk. Let's see. I wonder if I'm clicking, since you're such a small group, I'm going to allow you all to talk. I'm so happy right now. All right. So if you just want to have a conversation, if this is easier than typing, now I can see your, oh, Julia, your puppy dog picture. So if you want to come on camera or come off of mute, you're welcome to do that. So Kimberly, Wisconsin. Amanda, I don't know where that is. And I work everywhere from Milwaukee up to Marinette, but I'm not familiar with Kimberly, Wisconsin. She's going to have to tell me where that is. Okay, I think I saw someone come off of mute. Was anyone getting ready to say something? Maybe you weren't. Tammy's going to talk to us. Tammy.
Oh, am I muted or unmuted? Sorry.
You're unmuted. I hear you now, and I'm so happy.
Okay. No, I have nothing to say. I'm just Getting used to this new computer of mine. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. So we had the talking disabled, but I enabled it for all of you since we are a small group today. We can just keep this super informal. That's my preference. Near Appleton. Okay, so I've probably driven right through there or right by there. So welcome. So let's just kind of dive right in. And again, I taught, I want this to really be maximizing our time together. A little less formal maybe because it is a small group. So if you want to take me in any different direction, feel free to do so. It's not going to be my agenda now. It's going to be what most meets your needs. So I will stray away from the slides a little bit, but let's start with some housekeeping that we're actually going to abandon. We're not going to use the Q&A. So if you have a question, either come off of mute. I would love for you to do that, such a small group, or you can use chat. I'm a bobblehead because I have two screens going here. So I can see if you're using chat, but would love for you just to interrupt me. Hey, Dawn, what about whatever? And I'd be glad to do that. So for those of you that are new, I want to talk a little bit about the basic navigation and teaching with this, answering hopefully any questions you have about assigning, assessing, or grading with TCI. And I already mentioned that I know now that we have someone here from California, and then the rest of you are in other states. So the majority of you on the call are likely using our middle school modular programs. So here are the earth science titles, the life science titles, the physical science titles, but you may not be using them in the same order, in the same place, in the same grade level as someone else. So Julia may be doing something very different from Tammy, for example. And then I'm guessing, California friend, you are using the California Middle School Integrated Program. So it's more specific for you. You've got 6th grade integrated versus 7th grade integrated versus 8th grade integrated. So this is going to make it just a little bit different for some of you than others, but I think what we're covering, oh, you use modular. Julia uses integrated. Interesting. Okay, well, then what I said is still accurate, but who I said it about was inaccurate. So there you go. Some people say they use our middle school modular in an integrated fashion because they're placing, you might be in a district where you have 6th grade is doing weather and planet Earth and waves instead of this is 6, this is 7, this is 8. You can mix and match these versus this, which is truly a ready to go integrated program. I do not work in California. So in terms of exactly what lessons you are covering in the California integrated program, I'm less familiar with the order of your programs. But all the things we're going to be talking about today, which is really navigation and usage, then that is going to be consistent. So Mrs. Hughes, when you say that sounds like me, were you saying that sounds like you, what I said about modular, using it as integrated, or you were talking about using, okay, you have more leeway in what you teach. Okay, perfect. Lucky you. All right, very cool. Thank you. All these details are super helpful for me to kind of make sure that we can help each other. And in the meantime, we've had Dave join us. So Dave, because we do have a small group, I'm going to click and allow you to talk also if you would like. Small group today, so we were just kind of chit-chatting to make sure I maximize our time together and keep this a little less formal today. We'd love to hear from you, either chat or you can speak where you're joining us from, and if you use the modular or the California integrated program, and if you're new to Science Alive or not.
Very good. Can you hear me okay, Dawn?
I can hear you perfectly, yes.
Oh, okay, real good. Yeah, I'm at Temecula Unified. I teach both 7th and 8th grade, and we use the integrated approach.
Okay, perfect. So you might possibly know one of my partners in crime, like Kelsey or maybe Christy Sanders. I've got several of my coworkers that live and work in California, and one of them lives near there. So I'm wondering if Kelsey Moore might be your person. So if you are using the California Middle School Integrated Program and your question today becomes very California Integrated specific, my promise to you today is just for any of your questions. If I don't know the answer, I will find someone who does. And now we have Mika joining us. I'm so impressed. Normally we have a certain number of people who register and then maybe a third of those actually attend. So this is like, we have more people here than I expected. And that's awesome. So I'm going to put, because it's a small group, in chat right now, my email address. I may very well not be working with any of your districts, but because it's a small group, if you have a follow-up question to anything that I share today, you're welcome to email me. Or also, I also just dropped in chat info@teachtci.com. That will connect you directly to our customer success team. And what they will do is then they will say, is this a tech question? Is this a content question? And they will route it to the appropriate department to answer your question. Or if it's a question that would be best answered by the national account manager that specifically works with your district, and you may or may not know who that is at that time, or if you have one, then they will relay it to them. So you got my info too. And Dave, forgive me if you already said, are you new to TCI this year, or have you already been using Bring Science Alive? I'm sorry if you said that also.
Already been using it a couple of years now.
Okay, perfect. So we've got a variety here. Hopefully, even if you have been using it for a number of years, like several of you indicated, you're still either going to see some things today that you saw previously and just forgot about it, or maybe hear about some things that are new in terms of just the view or accessibility usage that will make you feel like you're even better equipped for an even more quality experience for you and your students this coming school year. So starting with just a couple of things on the basics, and I won't spend too much time on this, but just in case you didn't know this and need to know this, these programs were completed from the ground up to be 100% next gen. So these are next generation NGSS programs. In the case of Massachusetts, for example, I happen to know that your standards are such that it's NGSS, but you all have tweaked it as a state a little bit more. And best I remember, I think there's maybe 13 additional standards that address engineering in particular that are above and beyond what NGSS covers. So you've got some things like that in states that aren't 100% NGSS states, but you're still able to use these programs because it's just a few things that maybe you'll be pulling in from some other resources. In terms of components, just a quick recap about what is out there that you may or may not be accessing to make sure you have the most current information. We do offer both the online teacher license and the license for students. And then you all at the middle grades level have the option of, and I think someone else just joined us, maybe, no? Yes. No, I think it just moved to someone's screen. You all have the option of having the print version of the student edition, the consumable interactive student notebook version for their science investigation journal prompts, or relying on it digitally. And then you have the option of the print softcover teacher lesson guide. But even if you don't have that, hopefully you all already know you have access to all of that digitally as well. And we did have someone join. I'm allowing Amanda Smith to talk if she would like. I don't know if she dropped out and then came back on, but it wasn't showing allowing talking. So I want to correct that. And then some of you may have access to our materials kits, and others of you may be relying on things you already had access to in the district, or maybe the district is purchasing things from some other source. But if you don't know about the materials kits and you need to know, just know that ours come very nicely organized. It's grab and go bins, and it's going to tell you this unit, this lesson, grab and go, you're ready to go. Both the lab materials for the reusable items as well as the consumables. So are there just any general questions that anyone has at this point about anything I've shared so far, just on that initial NGSS blurb, modular versus California integrated, and then just the basic components that are available that some of you may have all of and some of you may have some but not all of, and all of those scenarios are fine. Anyone? And I was told this was the advanced class this afternoon, so no pressure, quiz at the end. What class size are the kits made for? Julia, you're not allowed to play Stump the Teacher. So actually, honestly, I have not looked at that most recently. If memory serves me, and that would be a great question for the most up-to-date information on the kits, to send a message to info, which I put in the chat. I believe it was 6 groups or class size of 30. If you would like to confirm that, send a message to info and they can look at exactly what program you're looking at or what order was already placed for your district to make sure that is still 100% accurate for you. And you can let me know, Julie, in the chat if you already have kits or if that's something you're exploring and need more information about. We'll be happy You've been able to, okay, thank you. Able to use the kits for 30 kids. Yeah. So if it's a group investigation, that's where you're looking at how many students you're putting in a group also. So there's some variation in how you're going to set up your class, but I thought that was accurate. So thank you for confirming. I'm allowed one mistake a day, and I think I already had that earlier in another presentation. So I'm going to try to get everything right now. All right, no other question on components, then let's just go on from this. You also have Spanish components. So I know for many, if not all of you, if you're not aware, just know that you have these options. Now, Spanish translation right on the website within the technology of your license, your assessments, the notebook and the reference text in print are available in Spanish, lesson guides in Spanish, the text, the vocabulary cards. So click the easy button. You've got those tools available to you as needed. And in terms of online, I'll show you when I dive into the license in a minute how we have made advancements to that even in the last year, and some customizations you can make in terms of access even to things such as Spanish that you can update at any time as needed. So for those of you that are new, we have this document that's getting started with your TCI Science account. And I'm actually going to go ahead and let's just try, let's see. I'm going to try to share this with you all. I always click the wrong button. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in chat for all of you and let you open it up so you have it handy, or at least grab that link so you can save it for later. And then just for a moment while you're grabbing that link out of chat, for those of you that are brand new, this gives you some basic navigation information, tells you a little bit about what type of content and how to maneuver around the content within your license. And then some of this is going to be dependent upon, are you in a district that is using Google Classroom or Canvas or Schoology? And we're now compatible with all of those systems. So in terms of technology, it's going to be click the easy button with any of those major players. Now, if any of you on the call happen to be new and you're going to be using Google Classroom, for example, for the first time, or maybe you've been using this for 3 years and didn't know that you could use it with Canvas or Google Classroom, for example. I'm not going to be navigating through those systems today, but I do want to show you very quickly some of the support we have for you. So at the top right-hand side of your screen, to the left of your first initial and last name, you're going to see a question mark. And when you hover there, it says support. If you click on that question mark, there are two options now, help and feedback. We want your feedback. It's what turns pebbles into rocks. So as you're using this, new user or 8 years in user, maybe you say, I love this, but I wish you would. We want you to share those things with us. That's how we continue to make this better and better meet the needs of your modern classroom. But we're talking about help right now. So if I click on help and then click on continue, let's say you are wanting to use Google Classroom for the first time. There are some items here, some symbols, quick links to information about teacher account basics or learning management systems. So there you've got the visual for Canvas, Google Classroom, Schoology, but maybe you want to type something in. So if I type in Google and then hit enter, the very first thing that populates is setting up TCI's Google Classroom integration. So if you click on that, I love this so much because you've got not only step-by-step instructions, including visuals on how to set up Google Classroom for your classroom, even if you're not in a Google district, but above that, here is, I believe, right at an hour-long video from one of our recent virtual summits where you can watch a webinar that we hosted on how to get the most out of TCI and Google Classroom. And I believe this current video loaded, if I'm not mistaken, is from our summit last July. We just had a summit last week where we did another session on TCI and Google Classroom. So we'll likely replace this link with that one, but the information is basically going to be the same. So I just wanted to show you very quickly what type of things you can access under support. You might forget after a training that your district has had how to edit an assessment question. So instead of typing in Google, I could have typed, how do I edit an assessment question? And it would have populated articles on that as well. Oh, thank you for that about the summit. We do plan to do the summit again next year. This year was our third, I believe, summit. Yes, I believe it was the third one. And we appreciate everyone that attended. If any of you on here are wondering, what is she even talking about? We host an annual virtual summit. It looks like we're going to stay with the last week of July being when we host that. So put a little pencil note on your calendar. If you have access, which you all do, you'll start seeing advertisements for it toward the end of the school year or the beginning of the summer. And we offer sessions that are specific to science and specific to social studies. And then this year we had a keynote speaker, Adam Welcome, who just really got everybody pumped up, including me, excited about walking back into the classroom. So lots of special topics, and every year we'll kind of have an overarching theme. Like this year was civics, and we even did sessions on civics in the science classroom. So thank you for that plug for Summit. That is appreciated more than you know, because a tremendous amount of time and energy goes into that. And we're all teachers that present at the summit, like myself. Once a teacher, always a teacher. So that means a lot. Any questions or comments about anything I've said or shown so far before I kind of dive into one of these programs and talk about what's new and some basic navigation and answer any additional questions you have along the way? So feel free to come off mute if you're not already, or type. I'll pause a minute to see if anybody's got anything pressing. Again, I know this is the advanced class, so no pressure. I'll keep glancing over to the left to make sure no one's typing anything. I'm not seeing anything come through yet, but I'll keep watching for it. All right, so I'm in cells and genetics. I could have just as easily gone into 6th grade integrated or into adaptations or ecosystems. You're going to see that everything looks very similar, if not identical, depending on what I'm in, with, of course, a few exceptions just because of content, for example. This might seem like a strange place to start now, beyond help and the hovering support button, but I'm actually going to come over to settings. If you've been using this for a while, any super new things that might throw us old users for a loop. That's kind of what I'm going to talk about right now. Nothing that's going to throw you for a loop, but maybe some things that hopefully you'll say, you know what? I kind of wondered if they would ever do that, or wish they would do that, or wish they would improve that. And boom, here it is. So nothing that's going to throw you for a loop, I don't think. If you find yourself thrown for a loop, feedback, we want to know that so that we can make a tweak and make it a better user experience. But fingers and toes and eyes crossed that you're going to love everything you see. So to piggyback on that, if you are logged in on another browser tab to your own license, awesome. If you're not, then you might want to just jot a note down that when you come to settings, if you haven't already done this, you want to periodically, in case you miss something on the info alert bar, click on opt-in features. So we have tweaked the view, and everything on the purple left nav is still going to be pretty much the same in terms of, look how it's organized. Program, unit versus lesson versus reference tools, English, Spanish toggle at the bottom. Those of you that were using this last year may have remembered, I think it was last year, maybe in the year before. It's all a blur. Thank you, pandemic, right? At some point in the last 3 years, we had an opt-in option for streamlining the purple left nav. And then we slowly but surely opted everybody in automatically. So kind of same thing with this on opt-in features now. It's about finding what you need even faster. So flexible lesson options, diving deeper, and assessment. You're still going to be able to get to all of these things from the purple left nav, but you can also, in a moment you'll see, get to them more easily on your main page. So what I want you to do now, or next time you log in, is click on settings and then click on opt-in features. And notice mine right here says turn off. If yours says turn on, please, oh please, click it so that then yours says turn off. You want it already turned on. Now, it could be different for all of you. It's my understanding, for those of you that say you've been using this for 7 or 8 years, you might have to physically click turn on. For those of you that are in a brand new adoption and you are just now getting your access, or maybe don't even have it yet, you might have been automatically opted in, because in the coming weeks or months, we're going to opt in everyone by default. I say, why start your year one way when you're going to be pushed into something else and it's just a better user experience anyway? Okay. So again, settings, opt-in features. Now we've got some new users and some, I won't say old users, some experienced users. So I want to just give a reminder to the experienced users of some of the things very quickly that you also can and may want to control under settings. Student features. So reading levels and languages, cannot tell you how many times I go back and do a training with a group that maybe has been using us for a couple of years and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I could XYZ. And I say, you could have been doing that all along. And either they never saw it or they forgot they'd been shown, because when you're learning it for the first time, it can be information overload, right? And then you get in your groove of teaching. I know I log in and this is what I click on and I teach my lesson and I generate my assessment and then I'm out. So under setting student features, just a little friendly reminder, or for some of you for the first time showing you, you have the ability to change the Lexile level for your students of the online reading. So level A is on grade level. Level B is 25% below. Notice for many of these things, you can edit them by individual student or entire class. You can control if they have access to Spanish online or not. Spanish is currently level A. We have it on our roadmap to have a level B of that as well. Anytime we add something or modify something, make a correction, all of that, you'll have instant access to it. That's the beauty of having this online portal, that within your license, you're going to get the latest and greatest. Below that, student support, text to audio reader. If you don't turn this off, then all of your students, unless you turn it off for individual ones, can have the text online read to them in either English or the authentic Spanish translation. Main idea finder, again, can edit whole class or individual student. If you're using the lesson games for students to get scores, you can choose if you want them to be allowed to retake it or not. If you want to lock them out of the notebook to where they can go back and it's view only and they can't edit their processing what they have turned in, that's controlled right here as well. If you have the copy of the hardcover print booklets, then the student edition, you can choose if you want them digitally to see the page number that corresponds to that or not. Just make sure if you alter anything on this page, you click that magic update button at the bottom. Otherwise, everything you've done is for naught, right? So make sure you save your work. So that's under student features. The only other thing I want to spend time on here in settings with you right now on is student access. So under student access, students can change classes. Probably many, if not all of you, your students are rostered, so you're not worried about that. I want to focus for a moment on content access. So your secondary teachers, just like I was most recently, a secondary teacher. If you hand your students a print copy of the student edition, nothing is stopping them from reading the entire adaptations booklet from cover to cover by next Monday, right? And if you tell me yours are going to do that, I'm going to move to wherever you are and teach with you starting this fall. Same thing for the digital version of the reading online. If you keep this set to on, at any time, a student can log into their license and they can say, hey, I want to check out lesson 7. I want to check out the lesson game within unit 3. If you change these to off, you need to just remember, you can't walk in tomorrow and say, tonight I want you to complete the investigation notebook and play the lesson game for lesson 3, because they won't be able to open it unless you have assigned it. So again, content access, leave it on if you're not worried about them looking ahead. Turn it off if you absolutely don't want them to access it, but just know if you click off and you click update, they can't see it until you formally assigned it. Now, when you assign it, you don't have to just make the next day's assignment. You can assign in the future. So in assignments, that's where you have a lot of control that we may get a chance to peruse in a few moments. It's very intuitive if we don't get to that, but you can choose for each assignment, when is it available? Are you locking it at a certain date? Customize directions, and even go so far as choosing which students in which classes get that customized assignment. just like if you generate multiple assessments, which students are getting this assessment versus this other assessment I'm pushing out to these 3 students that are on an IEP. If you were not aware that you had that capability, congratulations. That's my gift to you because you did not win the Powerball jackpot or you wouldn't be here right now, just a hunch. Also, while I'm thinking of it, you have the ability to have a total of 10 educators with access to your classroom. So whether you're new or you've been using this for a while, if you want, the district can add those. I believe we have a special education teacher on the line. Yes, who was it? Tammy. So Tammy, you are using this to teach 6th grade science. I don't know if you are teaching it and you have your own license and your students are only in your classroom, but if it's a collaborating situation and you are collaborating with the gen ed teacher, you could actually just be added to their class and coming in and doing this differentiation. So personal preference, if you've got any questions about anything like that, shoot a note to info and they'll be glad to help facilitate that or answer questions of your tech department. Let me pause again. I see there's a message. Let me see what that was. Okay, Tammy, good to know. But for the rest of you, if you are collaborating with others or anyone else needs access, you have that functionality. Any other questions or comments about anything I have shown so far or anything I haven't shown that you just want to make sure I address today? Because this is your agenda, not mine. So let me pause for a minute. Advanced class. Have to say, we did a sound check before this started, and I was telling my friend in our marketing department, I feel like I need the side-by-side in that meme of how it started versus how it's going of myself today. I've had so many presentations today. I started out with my hair down and fixed, and my makeup was good, and now this is what you all are getting at the end of my day. I'm over on the eastern side of the country, so my apologies. It's like a school day, you know, by the end of the day, your hair's up, you're disheveled, and here we are. No questions or comments about anything or anything you want to make sure I share before we dive into something else. All right, I'm going to keep watching chat. I take silence as we're good to continue. So tell me if I'm wrong. You're going to spend most of your time in content. So notice this is organized by units. So I'm in cells and genetics. I've got unit 1. I've got my anchoring phenomenon video. I've got my unit opener and unit closer information below it. I can open up this unit by clicking on the title of it or by clicking Explore Unit. If I click on Explore Unit, it's going to bring me to this view. So notice here I've got my PEs, my storyline, my anchoring phenomenon, my 3D learning. Remember what I said about hovering? So if I hover on SEPs, for example, notice there's a hyperlink right there at the bottom to the complete NGSS correlations for the program that I have opened. So you're going to have those at your fingertips in more places than you probably could ever want them to be. Below that, before we talk about the planning box, this is something that may be a little bit new to those of you that have been using it for a while, but hopefully you'll see this as positive. A year ago, you didn't see these visuals here. You didn't see unit projects called out right here. These were all things you already had access to, but you are having to dive back over into this purple left navigation bar more often to get access to what you needed. So you can still do that, but we want things to be at your fingertips. So here we're going to have a quick place, a library, where you can more easily access any of the videos that live within the program that you have opened, rather than coming over here and toggling between different lessons. And where was that video? That was the frog dissection. Let me try to find it. You can find it through here much more easily. Great for when you're reviewing, etc. Games. It's not coming soon games. It's coming soon. See all of them in one place. So likewise, you're still going to have the lesson game, all of this over here organized according to which lesson I have opened, but soon you'll be able to quickly get to and navigate any of them. Again, think, am I reviewing at the end of a unit? And I don't want to click in and out of every lesson. I want to find them right here. Biography bank, career profiles. You are finding those things down here. Now the biography bank is going to be right here, but it's also still over here. So hopefully that's not anything you see that would trip you up. It's just something that, oh, I love that reminder that those things are going to be right here at my fingertips. if you're a first-time user, below all this unit planning information, you'll see the lessons that are part of the unit. So more on that in a minute. And actually, I am a creature of habit, and I just happen to really love Unit 2 on body, so I'm going to go to that one. So same thing. This looks the same, right? But let's talk about this planning box. Notice the planning is not visible to students. A couple of things here that maybe all of you already know about, but if you don't, I want to make sure you do. If I expand this planning box, unit progression, whether you are new to this or you are planning to teach it for the 8th time, if you've never looked at this document, please, oh please, open these up, save them, or print them out. If you click on unit progression bodies, it's going to be this beautifully color-coded, organized document for you that is specific to every unit you open. So this is the bodies unit. There's my anchoring phenomenon, my storyline, my unit progression, my performance expectations, followed by, for each lesson, a blurb about the DCI, the CCCs, the SEPs, the connection back to the unit phenomenon, what's happening in the unit or in the engineering challenge. So all of that information color-coded on this nice document. So I love this for planning. Again, maybe you knew that was there, but for every unit you open, you're going to see that under unit progression under the blurb about it. So that's right there, and you can save that or print it out. Next to that, explaining the anchoring phenomenon. So it's going to tell you in each lesson, what are students going to learn about that's going to connect back to the anchoring phenomenon to help them in the end explain that phenomenon that they are learning about. Followed by 3D learning progressions. Similarly, what are they going to learn about? What are the DCI, CCCs, SEPs for each lesson? How does it connect back? So you can get the same information from that document here, but if you're looking for specifically 3D learning progressions, you can click on this link here. And I also love the unit highlights. We know that some of you might have 30 minutes for science. Others of you might have 90 minutes, 5 days a week for the entire school year, and somebody else may be doing AB days and everything in between. So unit highlights is saying, if you can't do it all, here's what we as teachers want to make sure you know we feel are what not to miss. So for example, what not to miss in the engineering challenge, here's what's happening. Don't miss this in interacting body systems. So at least take a look at that if you know you're going to have to shave off some time so you don't miss those things that we think are just real wins that lead to retention beyond the assessment. So that is your planning information at the unit level. Now, when you scroll down below, actually, before we scroll down below, let's slide over here to unit and the projects, which were also referenced right here. So I can get to these items either location. Now I have expand sections or present slides. I personally like expand sections for planning purposes and present slides for teaching purposes. So this is unit project information. The students have access to this as well. Notice if it's in green, that means the students can see. It says visible to students. So step 1, make observations and generate questions. There's a video that they watch, their anchoring phenomenon video. Show what they know, write what they wonder. Step 2, developing an initial model. If they're doing this within their device, the drawing tools are right there for them at the appropriate point in the lesson cycle for this unit project. Step 3, analyze and interpret data from investigations. So we want you to have them return to this project at the conclusion of each lesson. I just did interacting body systems and its investigation. We're going to return here and share something we learned. Step 4, based on what you learned, revise your model, and then they have their drawing tools and can do that right here. Step 5, CER, and then interdisciplinary connections are below that. So that's the unit project information. Now, let's circle back to how I got here. If I come back here to content, I was at Explore Unit Bodies. We talked about the planning. I opened up this information, but I just did it by clicking here on projects. So you've got the unit openers is really what we were discussing, but then you have unit closers as well, which you can get to right here at this point of use, or you can get to them within the lessons and their investigation. So now planning at the lesson level. Let's say I'm ready to start planning and teaching lesson 3, interacting body systems. I can open it by clicking this lesson title or by exploring lesson. And now I'm going to have yet a different view. So notice I've got the planning box, and then below it, I've got what may be a new view for some of you. So this is what I asked you to opt into that everybody's going to be in soon. So flexible lesson options. If this is a particular unit where you know you simply don't have the time to be able to do this entire investigation, you need to focus more on the reading element and thought-provoking note-taking, then you can kind of go with this reading track. If you've got time to incorporate this investigation, you're going to open this one, which gives you access to all of the slides and walks you through the complete lesson cycle for this investigation. If you have an opportunity to dive even deeper, you can select these additional activities like the reading further, bonus information, or the key concept here. And then after that, you're ready to assess the notebook, which they can be completing those prompts along the way as you complete the investigations. The lesson games, which you can do in a whole class setting pre-post, but by design, we want you to assign to them so that you get that trend data, they get a score, etc. And then the assessments, those NGSS assessments, of which you have stock assessments ready to go, or you can utilize our assessment generator, which you can access here, or you can get to quickly over here. And then below that, again, those same symbols that you saw on the unit page. So let me pause for a moment because that is a new view here for some of you. Any questions or comments about anything I've shown so far, or are any of you in your license and you still have not seen that yet? While I give a shameless plug for Nestle Pure Life Water before I lose my voice today. It's like teacher on the first day of school. And again, you can use chat or you can come off of mute, totally up to you. And if you don't have any questions or comments, at least say, yep, we're still here, we hear you, and all is right in our world. And if anybody's talking, you are on mute. Everybody's good? Somebody at least say we're good in chat. Thumbs up. Thank you, Julia. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so if anybody's not good, let me know. I'm watching for that. And if I don't see it fast enough, come off mute and yell at me. Okay, so at the lesson level, you have a planning box just like you did at the unit level, but the information is different. See how these symbols are different. If you used this previously, another thing that's different about the view right here is TCI content, which is our stock slideshows versus my slideshows. Can you tell I like this unit and lesson? So if you used this last year or 3 years ago, and you've already customized slide decks, which by the way, if you didn't know, all of you, you can do that. They are now going to live in this additional tab. Whereas previously you had those boxes and here's our stock one, and then here it is chunked out. And at the bottom of that were the ones that you had created. Now it's cleaner look. Here's our content versus here's anything you've made. So this is all the different ones that I have modified. So I just wanted to point that out to you as well, because you might overlook that in this new view. So you haven't lost anything. Planning box, I'm going to expand it. Allow 250 minutes to complete this lesson. That does nothing for me. That's not how my brain thinks. If yours does, congratulations. I like it chunked out as it is below according to the lesson cycle. So at the middle grades level, there are multiple investigations for each lesson. So for example, this lesson 3, interacting body systems, has investigation 1, dissecting frogs, investigation 2, creating a human body model, investigation 3, diagnosing Mr. T. And then you have the kickoff to it, the observing phenomenon, 10 minutes, which is the hook, that tap into prior knowledge, generate interest. And we tell you if we feel strongly that the reading should probably take place at a certain point within this lesson. So for the observing phenomena, we say then read the introduction in sections 1 through 3. In alignment with investigation 1, which we proposed would take about 80 minutes, sections 4 through 5 pair well with that. So you can do it as you see fit, but if we feel strongly that it might matter for a particular lesson, we're going to give you those tips. The next tab over says materials. If you're a first-time user, you may look at this and go, oh my gosh, I've got to print all of those handouts. No, no, no. Depending on what your district has purchased for you, you may not be printing out any of that. You may be sharing handouts with them digitally. You may have the consumable version of the notebook. If your students have a license, they may very likely be processing all of that digitally within their license where you can see it instantly. But we want to give you access to all of these things in PDF form should you ever need them. And then also the Spanish version of them at your fingertips here as well. So you can access the materials here and also from the materials tab over on the far left. So we call this positive redundancy. So there's multiple places where you can access the same information. Back up to the top, the next tab over at the lesson level is teacher prep. So this is where we're going to say, hey, you're about to do lesson 3. Hope you've already sent in that coupon to get your frogs if you don't already have them or you didn't use them last year. So this is something, well in advance, or am I printing out a handout and not sharing it with them digitally? So you definitely want to look at this when you're starting to plan for a unit. So that's why I'm calling this out for you here. And then next one is differentiating instruction. For most, if not all of the lessons at the middle grade science level, we're going to give you suggestions for quicker as well as deeper coverage. Also, simple adaptations and suggestions for ESL or ELL, learners reading and writing below grade level, learners with special education needs, advanced or gifted learners. So for every lesson, you're going to see those things. And then the last tab over here is enhancing learning. Now, think of this as we've done the homework for you. You may not use anything under enhancing learning, but I would love for you to at least take a look at what's here and see if you could possibly find a way to incorporate it into your classroom instruction, whether it be whole class instruction or to differentiate. Because you may say, Dawn, I already use schooltube.com, great, but maybe you didn't know that this portion of their website has a video that pairs perfectly with what you're covering according to NGSS in this particular lesson and the investigations that accompany it. So if you ever click on one of these and it's a bad link, notice these are all taking you away from our TCI portal. Maybe once a year, someone will tell me, hey, this link isn't working. I don't even think anyone found one last year, but we want to know that so we can pull it immediately and replace it with something else equally great, if not better. So that's under enhancing learning. Let me collapse that planning and come back down to the investigation slideshow. Remember, this one is kind of big ideas, the text and the notes, versus this one is the whole kit and caboodle. The investigation slide shows all elements of it. And below it, notice these symbols. The play button is present. I'm ready to use this stock slideshow to teach this content, facilitate these investigations with my class. The next symbol over is edit preview. If you click on that, which I will do now because there's something I want to point out to you, it's going to bring you to this view. Again, scroll to the bottom anytime you are navigating anywhere on the screen. Depending on the display that your laptop is set to, for example, or whatever device you're on, this may be all you see. You may not be aware that you can scroll down and you can take teacher notes or edit notes that we have here for you ready to go, or customize this presentation by hiding slides if you did not scroll down. In addition to that, you can edit the text on any given slide. So maybe you don't like this verbiage. You don't want it to say, in this lesson, you will learn about. You want it to say something totally different, or you just want to delete that. You can edit the text, and then when you're finished and have it the way you think you want it, you're just going to be prompted to click save, and then name it whatever you want to name it. And then click save again. And then with the magic of Spectrum Internet in 3 and 2 and 1 and 1. And that wasn't terrible. It says it's saved, but where is it? So we're going to tell you right up here. That presentation card was just added on the lesson guides page. So now if I come back to lesson overview, TCI content, there's the stock one. You're never going to alter the stock one. You made a new one, as I have made many new ones. So there's the one I just made. I'm not very creative with my naming nomenclature here for them, but that's where it's going to go. But let me go back into the stock one again. Here, present, teach from that one. Edit is where we were a moment ago. Make a copy of it. Not really sure why you'd want to do that, but you can. Print guide is going to give you the PDF of the lesson guide information for this lesson, which you can also access under the materials list. Or this magic button. I've already shared this slide deck with my students. You'll have these same buttons under the ones that you created that were customized. The great thing about this is, unlike Zoom, where if you joined later than when I first started this webinar, you couldn't see anything I'd shared in chat before you joined. With this, if you have a student added to your class a month from now, you don't have to go back and specifically share that slideshow with that student. They will have access to that customized or stock slideshow that you had already created. So let me open this up now using Present, and it's going to look like this. And I could go full screen and not see these tools, but just to show you very quickly how it walks you through the entire lesson cycle and the investigations. Students don't have access to these orange buttons, but this is, again, positive redundancy. That same information you saw back in the planning box, background, learning progression, differentiating instruction, enhancing learning, timestamp information, I already showed you that stuff. So here it is again. If you are about right here, this is what, if you're hiding slides, you're going to show to students first. So now we're kind of diving into the lesson. Here's that verbiage you could have tweaked. Now, if it shows a button, notebook, that means you and the students can click on this and it's going to show their notebook online, and they don't have answer key, but they or you can start typing right here at point of use. So that's fantastic. Right here, suggested reading. You no longer have to toggle over and open up a tab for the reading. If I click suggested reading right here, it's going to give it to me right there, open up for me. Now I'm in the section it's suggesting I read. Again, already admitted to you, I like this lesson a lot. So I've already been doing some highlighting, but something else that's new, a year ago, you had 3 highlighting colors. Now you have 6. That excites me. Hopefully it excites some of you as well. There's where you can change the Lexile level, text to audio reader, main idea finder in a different bold color font. Students can take notes to summarize or paraphrase passages of the text. You can't. Save it to Drive, etc. And then you've got the notebook right there. Click a button on a vocabulary term. It defines it right at the point of use so as to not distract from struggling or emerging readers. So there you go. If you come across check for understanding under text with notes, that's a safe place for students to check their understanding. Nothing reports to you. It says it right there. That student practice space versus the online version of the notebook, which looks like this. They don't have answer key, but this is what you have access to, can assign to them, and will actually be giving them a score and any written feedback comments that you might want to. Let me pause again for a moment because that was a lot, and I'm looking at the clock. Time flies when we're having fun. So I want to maximize our time together. Would it be advantageous for me to spend our remaining moments in the assessment generator, which was my plan? Or I can also talk about some of the hidden gems that are under the support tab that you may not be aware of or have forgotten about. Or is there anything else specifically that any of you want to ask of me right now? So come off of mute or use chat. I am all ears. Dave is in for assessments. So we've got 1 vote, 2 votes for assessments, 3 votes for assessments. Looks like we're definitely going to assessments next, and then we'll see where we are on time. All right, awesome. The assessment generator is super easy to use, and we are so proud of our NGSS assessments. I cannot begin to tell you how much work went into these, and I think they're fabulous. So no matter what program you're in, when you click on assessments, it's going to look like this, except you won't have Dawn's multiple assessments because Dawn loves lesson 3. So you're going to see question bank, 2 tests. For every lesson, you'll have 2 stock assessments, 1 English, 1 authentic Spanish translation, either of which can be used as a paper pencil, more traditional assessment, or delivered online to students. And then anything that's not open-ended is going to be automatically scored for you. You'll be prompted to score anything that was open-ended, give them feedback, etc. If your district is requiring common assessments, or you just want to help each other, if Dave says, Dawn, I'll create online assessments for Unit 1 if you'll do Unit 2, we can choose to make them public at the district level, where we can help each other instead of everyone reinventing the wheel for every lesson personally. You also can choose to make your assessments public nationally, or you can tap into others that people nationally have made public, and you won't see the district they're in, but you'll see the state, and then you can open it up, use it as is, or make a copy and make further edits of it and use it for your own purposes. But let's say you want to create a new test. You're going to do that by, guess what? Clicking on Create New Test. By default, it's going to name it the title of the lesson, followed by the word test, which is super creative, right? So we're going to call it Demo for National Zoom. And then I'm going to click Submit. And then we're going to wait on my internet. That wasn't bad. So now I can choose from all of these question types, TCI's question bank, or I can write a new question. Let's say I want to start with TCI's question bank. I'm going to click on TCI only. Remember what I said about scrolling. So if I scroll here, notice I can add additional questions from the notebook or the lesson game. I can filter by DOK level. If you didn't scroll, you would not have seen that. So I'm telling you now, anytime you toggle around, scroll, and if something you don't know what it means, hover on it. That's my 2 best pieces of advice for you today. You have the ability to add questions from multiple lessons at a time. So let's say you want an assessment that's over lessons 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, as I just selected. That's what I've done. Let's imagine I've clicked on all of these and I want to add all of those to the test. And let's say I looked at all of these and I want to add all of those to the test, and I looked at all of those and I want to add all of those to the test. I'm going to click Add to Test, and then this is going to take a second because this would be the most horrific test ever given to a group of middle school students, because it's going to be very thorough and based on 2 lessons. You would not do this to yours, but I just want to show you what happens. In 3 and 2 and 1. I have the fastest internet known to man, but it doesn't matter when I'm sharing bandwidth with teenagers playing Minecraft, right? All right, in a moment, you're going to see an additional view, and it's going to be a drag and drop. And here it comes. So now I can click to drag and drop and reorder questions. I can click on a question and see that it's available to me in Spanish or English. I can change the verbiage. I can add to the distractors. I can limit the number of distractors. I can have 2 correct answer choices. If there's an image, I can change the size of it. If there's not one, I can add one. I can change the point value of a question. Let's say I've gone through all these questions and I'm satisfied with them as they are. I'm going to simply click Done and then wait. That wasn't bad. So here's the one I just created. I can assign it from here, or if you click over on Actions at the far right, you can print it out to have a paper print copy of this one. Maybe 2 students are going to be taking it on paper or pencil method, and the others are taking it on a device. You've got that option. But maybe right now you just want to see what this assessment would look like if a student took it on a device. So I clicked on Preview. I can even hide my purple left nav. Your students can also. And this is what this beautiful NGSS assessment looks like if a student's taking it on their device. I have my text to audio reader activated. That's why you're seeing that audio button. Notice there's embedded video. You can see all the different question types. I mean, this is beautiful, if I do say so myself. If it's asking them to draw something, just like within the notebook online, those drawing tools are embedded for you. Anything that's not open-ended is scored for you. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can go back in, click that action button and make further edits, delete questions, randomize it to have more than one copy. Not that your questions would ever cheat off the person next to them. That was only mine. You can pull out individual questions to use to teach how to answer a certain question type along the way during the course of your instruction. Because again, you can see this would be an assessment that would take them 3 days. But I just wanted to do that to show you all the different question types and the just wonderful amount of questions that we offer you within the bank, in addition to your ability to write questions of your own. But symbol crash. I see we are now at the top of the hour, so my time with you has ended. So let me pause again and open it up to any final questions. And I will drop again in the chat info@teachtci.com for any questions that are specific to your district or even just general questions. If you have a specific question about anything I said that you're like, if I emailed info, they're not going to know what Dawn said about this, and it would be too difficult to explain, you're welcome to email me directly, even though I may not be working with your district personally. As I said earlier, my promise is if I don't know the answer, I'll find someone who does. And I just really appreciate you joining me today and wish all of you a fantastic start to your school year. Hopefully you like the changes and upgrades we've made. And if you have additional feedback, keep it coming. That's what enables us to continue to make these great improvements and tweaks to continue to meet your needs and ensure that successful implementation. So zipping it. Thank you for that. It was only great because you all interacted with me. So I appreciate that so much. Any final questions? Thank you for that, Dave. Same to you and your team. I'll hang out here for a couple more minutes before I go into my next Zoom just to make sure that no one has anything that is urgent. Appreciate all of you today.